Hello everybody, welcome to your new moon video. It's gonna be a doozy, I have to tell you. Why? Because we have some pretty powerful planets squaring each other, and squares mean 90-degree angles like this. Collision. They're in like a collision course with each other. Now, as usual, there's good ways and destructive ways to use the squares, or to use the fire energy that you're going to see in this chart. So first of all, I wanted to bring us the tarot for this new moon chapter, which the new moon, you might feel it a few days before and a few days after, but ultimately what I'm forecasting is the period around the new moon, which is sort of the 2 weeks leading up to the full moon again on the early September. So think of it as, you know, the reading is pertaining to this time as you're actually listening around this new moon, and maybe lingering over the next couple of weeks. All right, so let's first burn our sage. Now, you might be feeling this coming. As I said, if people are really sensitive, they tend to feel the moon cycles and aspects. They feel them, they arrive before they get there, sort of like when you know somebody's driving to see you, but it's going to take them a couple days, and you sort of feel them coming even though they haven't arrived at the door. Knock, knock. That's sort of what it's like for intuitives or empaths. You sort of feel them arriving before they arrive. So if you've been feeling very intense emotion, if you've been feeling intense frustration, if you've had any desire to really get active, if you've noticed your anger rising up, or on the positive side, as I mentioned, you know, wanting to be active, if wanting to take risks, be bold with something, stand up for yourself, whatever that, you know, fire is in its positive aspect, that's what we're going to try to harness. But we're going to take a look with the cards and just see, as usual, what pops up besides the astrology. All right. And I'm going back to my normal format, so if you want to see the extended reading and you want to see the readings for your sign for this month, then you need to subscribe to patreon.com. From Catherine River-Rain, or Clairvoyant Medium Catherine Allen. You'll find me on patreon.com. I'll put the link below the video. All right, so we're looking at 3 cards. So the universe is our first card. Very interesting, because the universe represents endings. The universe is like the culmination of everything. As you can see, the woman is naked and she's dancing with a serpent, and she's got the eye of Horus staring down on her. She's got all of the 4 guardians or gates of the fixed signs, so Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, and Aquarius. And she's got them all surrounding her with this beautiful heavenly celestial formation around her. So she is at one with the universe. She has learned her lessons. She's passed through, or he has passed through every gateway, and they have mastered a certain chapter of life. And so that means a time of evaluating and recognizing the things that have come to an end in your life. And of course that means that there'll be some anxiety perhaps, or uncertainty about what to do next. But this means the chapter is ending. A major chapter in our lives is ending. So you'll have to figure out what that's related to. Oh boy. The 9 of Swords, not a very easy card. Cruelty. Mars in Pisces. You can see the swords almost dripping with blood at the bottom. Now this is where we'd have to be careful, as I mentioned, of the aggressive side of this new moon, because we have Mars and Mars and Lilith, which is sort of like our dark side, our dark feminine side in Aries. It's very warrior-like. and it's squaring off with the classic conjunction we've been talking about all year, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn, which represents, you know, the government, patriarchy, capitalism, corporations, and Mars in Aries. When Uranus went into Aries in 2011, it was squaring off with Pluto as well, and we started to see uprisings. So when Aries squares off with Capricorn, we can expect more upheaval or uprising, rebellion, rioting, more challenge to the authority and structures that be. And so I'm fully expecting to see that, especially when I pull the Nine of Swords. I'm expecting to see some sort of, on a bigger level, okay, like the global level or on a collective level, some sort of feeling of betrayal or deception, verbal, mental, emotional cruelty. Unfortunately, right now, everybody's stress level is so high with the pandemic and the way it's changing the world, and we're trying to come to grips with something that has ended. You know, this chapter can also represent sort of life as pre-pandemic life as we knew it, and people feel really sad, angry, and betrayed by it. If it's in your personal life, then the thing that is ending, or should be ending, is any kind of abusive situation or toxic situation that you're in. This would definitely be a sign to get out of there. Wow, okay. The next card is the Moon, which is equally difficult to the Nine of Swords. The Moon, it represents deception, but much more covert. The Nine of Swords will say, oh, that was stupid. The Moon will be passive-aggressive and just not include you in the next thing that they're doing because you're stupid, but won't tell you why they think that. You'll just be left out and wonder why. That's the kind of energy of the Moon. The Moon isn't always bad, but when it's sitting next to the Nine of Swords, it would be a sign to be careful of things that are illusory, things that are too good to be true. High level of playing games, manipulation, and hiding. So, you know, again, on a global stage, we're already starting to see the beginnings of Donald Trump trying to gaslight the population about voting by mail and about Kamala Harris. And that's just one thing of many, many, many things on the planet we could talk about, but just being a North American and hearing things in the news, that's just what came to mind. But, you know, gaslighting is definitely Nine of Swords. Calling people nasty without any precedent is, you know, like trying to set the stage to tarnish someone or smear someone is definitely a Moon and Nine of Swords energy. Other than that, if there's things being hidden from us, it's pretty hard to know, isn't it? All right, those are so nasty that I don't want to leave it off on that for the general reading, so I'm going to give you the next few cards before we go to the extended. So, another difficult card, I'm sorry my friends, Three of Swords is the card of grief and sorrow. So, we can expect some sort of losses, and hopefully we won't, but that's unfortunately what the cards would say in this case. And if you don't experience the loss directly yourself, then you could be grieving other wounds and other old losses. It doesn't have to be, again, a death. It could be that you're coming to grips with something that's over and feeling sad. And then we get something positive, thank goodness. We get the Eight of Wands, which is springing into action, Mercury in Sagittarius. Look at the rainbow, the arrows shooting all different ways, all the different colors and all the different shapes. And the skies, or the background, is light grayish blue. It's, the heaviness is gone, the action is back, the optimism is back. So this is very good to see. There's going to be a bounce back. And then another Sagittarian card is the Art card, which is the Temperance card in other decks. And this is a witch, if you will. This is an alchemist. She is mixing her potions. She's mixing her herbs. She's mixing her elements in the cauldron. At the bottom, this is Leo. This is Scorpio. And you can see that she's half light and half dark, half blonde, half dark hair. One arm is black, one arm is white. She's mixing everything into this cauldron, and it's a great card because it's the melting pot where everybody is, everybody and everything has a role to play. Just like a really good recipe, you need a whole bunch of things to make it work. So in this case, it's sort of like putting all of these elements or all these people or ideas or nations or hopefully mixing things together to form one thing in the cauldron. So this is a positive use of the fire energy we're going to see. Using it for courageous, bold action. Using it to cook something new, And the art card or patience, temperance card also represents timing. Everything is all about the right timing. So let's go into the astrology chart a little bit, and then if you want to see the extended reading, you can follow me on Patreon. On Patreon. So the sun and the moon will be in Leo, and this brings out again people's noble side sometimes. In the best case scenario, the sun and moon in Leo could be extremely noble, generous. Think about somebody charismatic and has a big presence and decides to use that for good. Doing something to represent people less fortunate, or to bring attention to a cause, or recognizing their own wealth, their own position, and using it to help others. This is the best case scenario for the moon and sun in Leo. Otherwise, if the sun and moon are in Leo, you could get an extremely temperamental, narcissistic, egoistic kind of moment as well. And the other thing is that the moon in Leo and Leos will not be dominated by other people. They will not let anybody step on them or dominate their will. And so that strong will can be applied to something positive, to your own goals and objectives, or to help people, or it can be self-serving and stepping on people. So we're probably going to see a range of all of it, but in your personal life, just check yourself that your ego is in check. You just want to make sure that if you're having a strong reaction to something, or you want to do something a bit gutsy, or you're expressing yourself more than usual, just see that it's got greater intentions than just, I want my own way, or something like that. Now here's where we get to the difficult or nastier aspect. As I mentioned, Mars is in Aries, which is warlike. It's temperamental, it's impulsive, it's the placement that'll just, bungee jump without thinking about it, or say, yeah, let's try it, and dive off a cliff without knowing what the rocks are like below. We need somebody to test the water, don't we? But most of us are more cautious than that. And then Mars in Aries is also very warrior-like, and will pull out the sword or the gun. And because it's got this connotation of being, not thinking things through, you don't want to have that level of force combined with people that don't think things through. Now, Lilith is also in Aries, and Lilith is like the dark side of us in a way, like our shadowy feminine energy. It's not always bad, but it's harder for people to deal with. And it's a little harder to explain how that would play out. But if you can think of a warrior princess in the movies, and think about how she acts when she's trying to get her way, but without force. So how does that kind of warrior goddess or whatever use her charms or manipulate to get her own way? Now we have that combined with this, yeah, let's go smash the window kind of Mars and Aries. Now, on top of that, it's squaring off with the establishment, you know, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in Capricorn. This is the way the company works. This is the way the rules are. This is the corporation. This is how the country works. This is what we're going to do. You know, you're the staff. I'm the boss. You know, that's one aspect. Also, Jupiter, like Capricorn, is a very protective sign if it's in its positive aspect. You know, democracy was born under Pluto and Capricorn, and now it's back and it's being challenged, and the upheavals to literally to capitalism and to patriarchy and to democracy are happening. And that's really what's going on with Mars and Aries challenging all of those planets. Is we're still in this. I've mentioned these aspects all through the year. It happens when the sun was in Aries and the full moon was in Aries. It happened when things were in Cancer opposing it, and it's just like it's a cycle that's going to continue until Pluto is out of Capricorn, and that's a few more years. So we've got until 2026 where we're going to have these clashes and rise-ups and challenges, and it's because it's time to change it, and it's got to change into a new world. And when those clashes come along, of course, they can be uplifting. They can break free and break through something old and outworn, and or it can also destroy things that we've come to count on. And even if it's progressive, it's still upsetting. But the Mars and Aries is where I would expect to see protests, other sort of explosive moments happening over that new moon, or over this next week or so. Now the next thing we have, which is the positive way to use this fiery energy, is that same Mars and Lilith in Aries is also making very good aspects to the Sun, Moon, and Mercury. And this would be, like I said, think about your personal and individual goals. Think about what you can set in motion that you've maybe never done before. Think of anything in your life where the chapter's coming to an end, and maybe you need all the fire, all the will, all the drive, all the courage you've got to make a change that you've needed to make. And this is where the energy is best used. It's like if it's reacting against others, if it's pushing back against others, if it's causing a fight, then it's more in its destructive aspect. But if it's motivating you to say, I can't do this anymore, I've got to start exercising, I've got to stop procrastinating on this, or I just can't take it, you know, this relationship is not working for me anymore, I have to say something, I can't just sit down anymore, I have to heal this aspect of my life. And of course those moments are scary moments when you say, I've got to move on, I've got to change. But that's the best way to use the fire, because then you put into motion the strength and the will and the guts to do something great that could set off the new chapter for you in a more positive way. The only thing I'm feeling because of the planets is, you know, if you are doing something where you're exerting yourself as part of this fire energy, be careful of injuries. A few people have been reporting injuries and body pains to me, like more than usual lately. The last few days I've been seeing like just freak weird accidents with friends. So that's another aspect where the fire is too intense, and or your emotions are too intense and you turn your neck and you're like, oh no, I can't move my neck. Or you know, one poor guy I know took a tumble when he was just trying to get in his canoe. He took a tumble and now he has to have knee surgery. And he, you know, that's an active thing, that's a spontaneous thing, that fits with the fire. But for whatever reason, it's very intense right now, so just careful of injuries. Careful not to overdo it. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is we have Neptune in Pisces squaring with the north and south nodes of the moon. That's a bit of a deeper thing going on. You might not feel that one as much because there'll be so much huff and puff in the air with the fire and the protesting and stuff. But it is operating nonetheless, and Neptune squaring off with the nodes of the moon means it's very difficult for anybody to know what their course of action is going to be. Neptune just clouds things over and makes them very foggy and sort of strange, and or it can give us like fantasies and dreams that are unrealistic, or it can give us a vision and a strong intuition. But it's all related to our past life and our future life directions this time. So that's, for a lot of people, pretty confusing stuff. We don't know, in the middle of a lot of change or upheaval, okay, well, I want that, or that would be really nice, but is that really possible? Or I feel lost, I have no idea what I want to do with myself, or I'm not happy with I'm not happy with things as they are right now, but I have no idea what I'd want to do otherwise. And because the North Node is in Gemini, it's even harder because that's all about learning to be multiple anyway. And the South Node is in Sagittarius, which is like, I know the truth. I'm going to go do things my way. I'm going to just take off, travel the world, and bring back the treasure of wisdom that I've found. And the North Node in Gemini is like, no, the world is multiple. And it's all about lots of things and lots of people, and there's too much to do, so don't ask me to just pick one. So then you've got Neptune coming along going, oh, you know, like, because you don't feel the collision because it's Neptune and because it's Pisces. It's like all these like floaty planets that are doing this now. So you don't feel the clash as much. You just feel this vague sense of like, I don't know what I want. Oh. Or I know what I want and it's going to be so great. And then. And so it's really hard to know the difference between fantasy and intuition. So others of you will be getting clear, intuitive messages. I don't know why. I gotta do this. It's in your gut that you know that. It's not in your head. It's not reacting against anyone or rebelling against anyone. It's coming from you. So some of you will get that aspect, and I pray for that aspect for all of us. All right, if you want to stay tuned for the extended reading, you can subscribe to Patreon, and you'll get the extended tarot, and you'll get a card for every sign. So subscribe, please, and I'll see you over in Patreon.